more about them and the song about them. Their first mention of them in history was in 1175. They were in the margins of a book that the thinkers back then. They don't care to be called thinkers anymore for several reasons. One is because pejorative term over time. And second is it confines them to one specific activity in which not necessarily true. They like to be self-employed, they treasure their independence. When they first moved to the cities in the 60s, one of the main occupations was scavenging, or we call it reclaiming today. They would go around the houses and then they scrap back own clothing and they would take it and render it down and bring it to the wholesalers or the scrapyards and sell off the stuff. And they get a bad reputation. If one of them causes a problem, they all get kind of tarnished with the same brush. So there's that kind of dynamic going on. I was telling one man there that about 3 or 4 weeks ago in a town in Donegal, Ballymachannon, a house that was to be moved into by travellers who had lived in this town for 40 years. And the house was burned down. And the reaction was mild. I mean, if it had been a recently arrived African family or perhaps a Jewish family, there would have been a lot more fuss kicked up about it. But because it was a traveller family, it turned, well, this happens. And previously there had been politicians deriding them and a local judge who referred to them as Neanderthals lying and smoking in the long grass. And those kind of social attitudes just help create a climate of tolerance and acceptance. So this unfortunate family were denied their house. Here's a song, I'll say no more about them. They're indigenous Irish people, they're not Gypsy or Roma. The Roma people are, I guess, came from India about 1,000 years ago and started spreading across Europe. We know that by the laws that permitted them to travel through different areas and so on. So here's a song that the travellers call I'm a freeborn man of the traveling people. Ewan MacColl, great English songwriter, he wrote this one here. He did a radio show back in the 1950s called The Traveling People, in which he interviewed them. And only their voices are heard on the tape. And from their voices he creates some songs, including this one here. He's a very gifted songwriter. Among his other songs, he wrote Dirty Old Town. He also wrote The First Time Ever I Saw Her Face, Roberta Flack song. Just an extraordinary songwriter. His daughter, Christy MacColl, sang the Fairy Tale of New York with that wonderful songwriter and crazy character Shane MacGowan. They had a to and fro with that Christmas Day, Christmas Eve in the drum tank. Phenomenal Christmas song. It's up there with Mel Torme's. Well, to some of us. I'll be home for Christmas. Oh, incidentally, I was inspired to purchase a Bob Dylan album of Christmas songs. The review read, and I found this irresistible, the review read, he makes I'll Be Home for Christmas sound like a threat. That's the album for me. I'm a free-born man of the traveling people, got no fixed abode, with no man's eye am numbered. Country lanes are my ways, are always my ways. I never fancied being lumbered. Oh, we knew the woods and the resting places, and the small birds sang when winter days were dawning. But I've laughed and sung through the whole night long, seen the summer sunrise in the morning. There was open ground where a man might linger for a week or two
for time was not our master. Then away you jog with your horse and dog, nice and easy, no need to go faster. I've sold willow creels and the heather besom, and I've even done some begging and some hawking, and I've lain there spent, wrapped up in my tent, and I've listened to the old folks talking. And sometimes we'd meet up with other people, swap the news or else some family information. At the country fair, we'd be meeting there, all the people of the traveling nation. All you freeborn men of the traveling people, every tinker, rolling stone, or gypsy rover, winds of change are blowing, all ways are going, your travelling days will soon be over.
Here I'll sing a couple of songs, a song here about the famine in Ireland in the 1840s. The potato crop failed. Got a fungus developed, and this fungus acted so quickly that overnight your crop went from healthy to a sticky, smelly, black mess. The fungus came over from South America. It went throughout Europe. Ireland was so dependent, the people of Ireland were so dependent upon potato. It was brought to Ireland by Sir Walter Raleigh, and the particular brand of potato the Irish favoured was the lumper potato. And when you specialise in a specific crop and depend on it so much, and when things go south, the whole society hurts. This was a potato that provided most of your nutritional needs. They would augment it every now and then with a little bit of buttermilk or whatever else they could get mixed up in with it. People would eat upwards of 22 pounds of potatoes a day. And it was remarked by people in the early 1800s that the peasantry of Ireland was the strongest and sturdiest. They grew taller than the people in England did, thanks to the potato. However, one of these commentators also remarked that it looked like the poor of London sent their unused clothing, or disused clothing, to the Irish people. So here was a people, robust, but absolutely poor, just wretchedly poor. The economy, they had no votes. They were excised from society, they were just served to just exist. And then, of course, the famine hit, and the whole society fell apart. Food was still being produced, but it was being exported under escort and so on. It caused 1 million deaths, and maybe 4 million people emigrated between 1947 and 1914. The population of Ireland, for the first time, increased since the famine was in 1968. Prior to that, it was diminishing every single year. And that has a cause to society. Here's a song for you called Skibbereen, which is about a town in West Cork that particularly suffered during the famine. I was given a talk in a prestigious girls' college in Connecticut, and I would have minded if one of the schoolgirls had asked me the question, but one of the professors said, well, Ireland is an island, didn't they have fish? Professor, every rock on the coast was overturned and anything sticking to it was eaten. And to fish, by the way, you have to have a boat skills and know where the fish are and so on. So anyway, here we go with Skibbereen. Oh, Father dear, I oft times hear you speak of Erin's Isle. Her lofty shores, her valleys green, her mountains rude and wild. They say she is a lovely land,
wherein a prince might dwell. Oh, why did you abandon it? The reason to me tell. Son, I loved your native home with energy and pride, till a blight came over all my crops, my sheep, my cattle died. The rent and taxes were to pay, I could not then redeem, and that's the cruel reason why I left old Skibbereen. Oh, you were only 2 years old, and feeble was your frame. I could not leave you with my friends, where you bore your father's name. I wrapped you in my coat of moor, in the dead of night unseen, and I heaved a sigh, and I bade goodbye to dear old Skibbereen. Oh, father dear, the day will come when vengeance loud will call, when Irish men of feeling stern will rally to the call. I'll be the man to lead the band beneath the flag of green, and we raise the cry and we shout on high, revenge for Skibbereen. One of the recruiters for the Union forces in the American Civil War was Thomas Francis Maher, who was from Waterford. And the other day, a great of his presented his sword to the City Council of Waterford to display in their museum. They have a statue of Thomas Francis Maher. He promised the young recruits that if you took care of this fight in America, that he'd help them to take care of their troubles in Ireland. Well, he was a politician. He reneged on that promise, got elected governor of Montana, and died en route to his post. And there was actually, after the Civil War, a little-known event, the Battle of Ridgeland, which is when some Irish Fenians, as they call themselves, got together and got a great stack of uniforms. They had the idea of taking over Canada, holding it hostage, and it would give it back to the English when they gave Ireland back to the Irish. I think Ulysses Grant was president at the time, and he put an end to it very quickly. The thing could be summed up briefly. There were 4 deaths, I believe, a lot of drink, and uniforms that never got filled. So that's the story of the Battle of Ridgeland. So you can Google it up and check it out. It's a kind of an interesting little side story to the whole Civil War. Here's a song about the American Civil War, and it's an authentic one. It's written around the period in the 1860s, and it's about somebody in Ireland advising people not to come over here because there was this tremendous conflagration going on and not to be part of it. And the guy I got my gas from in Newburyport had an ancestor of his who came over, saw what was happening and went right back to Ireland, and eventually did come over. This is recorded on a page in the family Bible. And it's by the hush me boys, oh that's to stop your noise, and listen to poor Paddy's lamentation. For I was by hunger pressed, and by poverty distressed, so I took a thought to leave this Irish nation. Oh, myself and 100 more to America sailed o'er, our fortunes to be making we were thinking. When we landed in Yankee land, they stuck a rifle in my hand, saying, Paddy, you must go and fight for Lincoln. General Maher to us did say, if you get lost and lose a leg, every mother's son of you shall have a pension. Well, in the war I lost my leg, all I've got's this wooden peg. Oh, me boys, it is the truth to you I mention. Here's me boys, take my advice. To America and have yous not be coming. For there's nothing here but war, where the murdering cannons roar. And I wish I was at home in dear old Dublin. I think myself in luck to be fed an Indian buck, far from Ireland, that country I delight in. And to the devil I do say, oh, curse America. Oh, I think I've had enough of your hard fighting. Here's me boys, take my advice. To America and have yous not be coming. For there's nothing here but war, where the murdering cannons roar. And I wish I was at home in dear old Dublin.